Dan. I am also a former primary school teacher. I've taught in rural as well as in urban areas. And I don't know if under this bill I would be considered a teacher for what I did at tertiary level, but I've also dabbled there as well. And in addition to that, I have worked in multiple countries supporting education reforms, not too dissimilar from what we're discussing here, teaching councils. And the basic thing about teaching councils is that they're supposed to be developmental. You're supposed to get excited about them as a teacher. So if you are a teacher, last year 1,100 or thereabouts left the Jamaican education system, sought and better remunerated by systems elsewhere, as was mentioned earlier on. And if you were thinking of doing that now, and you heard about the JTC bill, ideally, you would pause and say, let me see how this plays out. And from what you've heard and from what we know from this bill, you would not delay your departure. And I'm going to speak to 5 areas in which we think the bill does a disservice to teachers and could contribute to teacher migration increasing rather than the developmental work that the council is supposed to support. The first one has to do with the increased bureaucracy, which we think will discourage the retention of teachers. So as you've heard, under sections 35, 36, and 43 to 46, teachers must go through a 2-stage process to get registered and then to get licensed. And they have to do this every 5 years, right? And they have to submit their police records. They have to do this required CPD, which they must document, and they must reapply for their license, even if they have a perfect record. So the implications of this is that you, as a teacher, overburdened by everything else that's going on, from lesson planning to indiscipline to all the mental health issues that they have to address, must now manage this cycle of paperwork, which you must ensure is properly coordinated and you keep good records. So we think this does a disservice to teachers and will encourage more teachers to leave the profession. The second one has to do with mandatory continuous professional development, CPD. And teachers are required under this bill to do CPD as a condition of their license. But there is no legal guarantee, no provisions in the bill that this CPD, this professional development, will be free, will be easily accessible, or fairly delivered. And so it means that teachers will have to pay out of pocket to meet these requirements, while earning salaries that lag behind what they would have earned if they decide to migrate. So the question then is, why would a teacher stay here and pay this additional amount when they can go elsewhere, be paid more, and probably more importantly, not have to jump through the hoops that this bill is asking them to jump through? And so this is a real concern which we think needs to be addressed. The third one has to do with fear of punishment and instability. So under this bill, teachers face public disciplinary hearings, suspension without pay during investigations, fines up to $1 million for infractions like teaching without a valid license, no salary protection during the appeal process, and investigations that can be launched anonymously or on verified complaints. So the risk then is that you be punished, you are uncertain about where you are in your profession. So this is not a supportive system, which is what we intend is what a country intends when it implements a teaching council. It is supposed to be developmental, but this seems hostile and punitive. The message seems to be, Big Brother is watching, you're under constant threat, or your job anyway is under constant threat. The fourth risk to teachers has to do with career flexibility. Because as you've heard, the licenses are specific only for certain subjects or to teach certain age groups. And so a teacher qualified to teach multiple subjects in Jamaica may be locked into a single role while if they were overseas, they'd be free to use all of their skills to practice in multiple areas. And that's not only inefficient, it's demotivating, because as we know, our teachers want to be as flexible, they want to experiment, they want to teach in as many areas as possible. So the fifth and final risk, which I wish to speak to, is that of the cost of compliance, which we think is too high. The costs for fees, for CPD costs, the police records renewals, with these things, teachers may spend tens of thousands of dollars during the license cycle in order to comply. And we know that not only aren't they asked to pay these things by the recruiters are offering free onboarding, free airfare, free housing assistance, free tuition for your children, and better salaries. And so we must seriously ask ourselves, how do these provisions make it attractive for our teachers to remain in Jamaica? And so as a party, the Teachers Party, we wish to make a couple of recommendations. And the first one has to do with ensuring that we have a package, a retention package, which teachers would find attractive. We think that package should include bonus pay, housing incentives, and tax breaks for long-term service. Secondly, all required CPD for public teachers in the public system should be free and easily accessible, coordinated by the government. Third, we think it's necessary to streamline the licensing into a single one-off certification with renewal required only if there are serious breaches on the part of the teacher. Our fourth recommendation speaks to eliminating the subject-specific license restrictions, especially for primary schools and for the small schools. Imagine a school with multi-grade teaching. And the fifth and final is to protect teachers from unjust penalties. No anonymous investigation, no loss of pay during appeal, and certainly no over-regulation. So with these things, we think a teacher would pause if they were thinking of migrating. They would find the JTC developmental, and it would cause them to think twice about leaving for other jurisdictions. Thank you.
We now invite Senator Crawford to